Hey, what's up, everyone? MLS Cup final this Sunday. It's Toronto FC taking on the Seattle Sounders FC. Does that sound familiar? Yes, it probably does. This is the third time in the last 4 years that these two teams are facing off. To break down the matchup, I brought in my good friend, Mr. Peter Galindo, Sportsnet.ca's finest. How you doing?
Good, Ryan. Thank you for inviting me here.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so Peter, let's start with Toronto FC. This is a very different team than we saw in 16 and 17. There's no Sebastian Giovinco anymore. Victor Vasquez not here. So how did they get to this point? Because they weren't the strongest team all season long.
Right. Well, it started with the 10-game winning streak during the regular season, and then it just kind of carried into the playoffs. But the signings of Omar Gonzalez, the center back, attackers like Nicolas Benessé, the winger, these were players who, in a lot of ways, made the difference because Greg Vanney was able to play his preferred 4-3-3 system, a system that he has wanted to implement since 2018 but wasn't able to because he didn't get the players. And then with everybody coming back fit in time and getting that cohesion, and then basically just getting into the playoffs by getting some results to go their way, they were able to do it. And then they obviously won that opening round game without Omar Gonzalez and their star striker Jozy Altidore, who picked up injuries at the exact same time, unfortunately for Toronto.
Which is crazy because Gonzalez, since he's come to Toronto, really helped their back end. They were giving up a lot of goals before that. He comes in, really solidifies the defense. Altidore, always a threat as striker, but yet somehow they've gotten through these 3 playoff games unscathed.
Exactly. And I mean, Laurent Simon, who's come under a lot of criticism this year from Toronto FC fans, he's looked solid in these playoff games, especially against Atlanta when the first 10 minutes couldn't have gone any worse for them. But then they were able to stay composed, they stayed compact, Simon got some support, and in a lot of ways, this system has really helped everybody because without these players, they've still been able to win. It helps that you have the largest payroll in MLS, but this is why you sign these players, to make sure that you are covered in case of injuries or suspensions.
So Seattle, let's talk about them a little bit now. Some people were only giving them an 18% chance to beat LAFC in the Western Conference Final. That's crazy. But yet, here we are. They've made it. They beat the top team in the league. How did they do that, Peter?
A couple things went their way. The first one being Canadian midfielder Marc-Anthony Kaye getting injured. He got hurt in that Canada game against the United States last month. And then without him, LAFC just really struggled to progress the ball in the final third. They didn't have a player who could recover possession high up the pitch and then filter that front 3 with some chances. And that just made it a lot easier for Seattle to close down the midfield, to box them in, and then get counterattacks. And then through attackers like Lodeiro and Ruidíaz, who are going to be crucial in this final, they got clinical finishing, they were staunch defensively, and that's how they were able to win it out.
All right, well, now that sets up, this matchup on Sunday. It's the rubber match, Seattle-Toronto. So looking at these two teams head-to-head, they've played already this season. Of course, in 16, it was Seattle taking it. In 17, it was Toronto FC taking it. What can fans expect on Sunday when these two teams meet again?
I think, as always, it will be a cagey final, as every final is.
Well, in 16, that was the same case, right?
Yep.
Scoreless after stoppage time, so.
Exactly, 0 shots on target, as many Toronto fans will remember. But I think that Seattle, in that regard, will be a lot stronger. They have Ruidíaz and Lodeiro, as I mentioned. Ruidíaz has 6 goals in 6 playoff games with Seattle, 3-3 this year, including that brace against LAFC in the conference final. That's going to make a massive difference because with Jozy Altidore needing what he calls a miracle to start in this game, then it's likely that Seattle will have the edge in attack, but you can't count out Toronto with the way that they have defended off the ball. They've been very cohesive. It's just crucial that they get Jonathan Osorio and Marky Delgado, the other 2 midfielders, with Michael Bradley together, because if Bradley doesn't have an outlet, he can be pressed and harried, and that can lead to a lot of turnovers in Toronto's end, and then Seattle can have a route to goal.
All right, are you feeling like you want to make any predictions here?
I'll give the slight edge to Seattle just because of that attacking vigor that they have. But look, I went against Toronto in the conference final. They proved me wrong. They proved a lot of people wrong. And frankly, the fact that Toronto is on the road and that they probably weren't expected to get here, maybe that works to their advantage.
And also, of course, Seattle with the home field advantage, 70,000 around there, fans at CenturyLink Field, so it's going to be a rowdy crowd. It's going to be a lot of fun on Sunday. The MLS Cup final, Toronto FC against the Seattle Sounders. For Peter Galindo, I'm Ryan McKenna.